This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new value, and a new experience.
Welcome to the Ghee Spot podcast. I'm your guide, Katie Silcox, bringing you your weekly self-love soundbite. Join us for conversations around sex, spirit, and all things self-care. All things self-care. All things self-care.
This is a journey into sound.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
You are a Ghee Spot podcast with Katie Silcox.
Hey, beautiful listeners, Katie here, and I want to apologize ahead of time about the sound quality today. My lovely Yeti mic, the cord broke, and I wanted to get out a podcast to you guys this week. So apologies for the sound, and we'll be back with our beautiful microphone fix next week. Yay! It's snowing here in Charlottesville, Virginia, where I'm coming to you today. Beautiful, beautiful winter time, and the way that the white snow kind of puts this blanket on everything, and I've been sleeping good and deep and just really feeling the healing power of hibernation, and I hope that you are too. I hope that you're taking time in the winter to do less instead of more, and I know that's really challenging right now as we move into the holiday season. But just a little love reminder that you're worth it and you have permission. I'm not giving it to you. You already had it. So slow down and take time to really appreciate and enjoy what's actually here is kind of the message for me, to me, and therefore to everyone else, is that's usually how it goes. So I'm really excited about the topic matter today, and it's been something that we've been working on in Ayurveda school for the past few weeks, and it's been just really powerful to watch all of the women in Ayurveda school come together, and we have these beautiful weekly meetings where we can see one another and talk, and we're all on video, and it sort of looks like the Ayurveda Lady Brady Bunch. And so these last few weeks, we only have one more week of the school year this year, but these last few weeks we've been working with our ancestors, and there's a very, very powerful practice in Ayurveda called Tarpana, where you honor and pray to and communicate with your ancestry. And so that's what we've been working on, and what I want to talk about today a little bit, and also just the way that modern science really supports this idea that, you know, we think of ourselves as these bodies, that we're sort of these thinking, feeling, physical beings, islands unto ourselves, and we really aren't. Most of us is actually bacteria and parasites and all the bugs that live in your system, right, and on your skin. It's kind of creepy if you think about it, but it's also really, really beautiful and really humbling to know that we are really a composite of everything that already exists in the universe. And our mind and our emotions and our DNA and even our physical symptomology is the same, right? We think of our feelings and our thoughts as being really our own. And what Ayurveda considers, or asks us to consider rather, is that our thoughts and our feelings may not be our own. And they may be lineage based. They may be inherited. Even things that really feel like your own patterns and your own reactions and your own habits, they are yours because you're doing them, right? But in essence, the root, like if we want to find the root of where a lot of our patterns and behaviors come from, we have to actually look beyond ourselves. And so it's this really freeing practice when we begin to work with our ancestors. And so traditionally what this would mean is that you would You would bring your ancestors to mind. You would bring offerings to them. Traditionally you work with fire and ghee and kheer and buttermilk and rice and flowers and incense. These are some of the more Indian traditional means, but all of these rituals can be deeply studied and honored, and also the Vedas themselves encourage us to adapt them to the time and the place and the people and the circumstance in which they are now being presented. And so in Ayurveda school here at Shakti school, we did our own ancestral healing this past couple of weeks. And I just had my students bring a photo of their ancestors and some of their favorite foods and just little blessings that we can offer them. And the idea, and I learned this quote from Maya Tiwari, actually from Kate Stillman, who had Maya Tiwari on her show, and they spoke about Tarpana. And as I was doing the research for my own classes, I had the fortune of coming across this amazing talk. And what Maya Tiwari, Mother Maya, says is that if we don't honor our ancestors and attempt to bring them into our current present day life, they ride on our backs. And if we do honor them and we do bring them into our present, current, everyday life, and we do offer them gratitude, we stand on their shoulders. And I love this idea of being supported by our ancestors. And if you look at all traditions, whether it be the Vedic or Hindu tradition or the Native American or the, like in Mexico and most of South America, we have the Day of the Dead. And there's this real sense in Celtic, Gaelic tradition of honoring our ancestry. And it's something that I didn't grow up with, and you may not have grown up with, but it is our inheritance to do that. And there's a beautiful science around it. It's not just airy-fairy out there spiritual kind of woo-woo bullshit. What we're now finding with psycho-neuro-immunobiology, which is a really fun word to try to say on your podcast, what we're now finding out, and what we are offering next year in Shakti School with my best friend, who is Dr. Kirsten Mackey, who is a real pioneer in this field. What we're now finding through medicine and science is that medicine and science are starting to uncover and support what the ancients have always known. And what they're finding, they did these experiments on rats. And in those experiments, they basically, I want to say I'm sorry to the rats, they basically traumatized these poor little rats. And it was, I can't remember the exact methodology that was used in the study, but it was basically like you have these rats go down to the right through a maze, and if they go down to the right, they get like a traumatic electric shock, and if they go down into the left through this maze, then they don't. And what they found was that rats who had been thoroughly, traumatized and had PTSD, who had babies, those babies who were never traumatized would present behavior that strongly suggested a memory of being traumatized if they went right. And so they didn't. And so memory and behavior and emotion and even thought is passed on from generation to generation. There are incredible studies done on children, grandchildren even, of Holocaust survivors and Holocaust victims. And the same thing was showing up, that these people would present with PTSD and symptoms very common in PTSD when they themselves had not gone through that experience. And so what we're beginning to understand is what the ancients already knew, and that was we carry 7 generations inside of our bones, inside of our blood, inside of our movement patterns, even the way we move our body. That's why at Shakti School, moving and feeling and bringing awareness, which is the healing elixir of life, right? Bringing love and awareness to everything. It enables us to begin to dissolve, and the word is resolve these patterns. And so as I was saying to my students this week, it becomes this incredible honor to be the divine mother for your lineage. And as I remember my friend Kate Stillman saying, I think it was Kate, we heal backwards as well as forwards. And I love that, this idea of we heal backwards and forwards. And so you may be thinking, well, my ancestors were jerks. I don't honor them and I don't thank them and they didn't give me shit. And you know what? You may be right. Your ancestors may have been complete jerks. Many of our ancestors, if you start to look back through your family genealogy, oh my God, there's always going to be, everyone thinks that their family is crazy, and it's not that. It's that all of us are crazy, and all of us have craziness in our lineage. And so what is so healing about honoring your ancestors is that this next piece of the ritual that I did with my students and I do with myself and my ancestry is you bring your ancestor into the space with you, and you attempt to go back through their life to the best of your ability of what you actually know, but also using your intuition, and the energies actually themselves will give you the information that you may not cognitively be able to access with your thinking brain. And you go through their life with them, and you wait, and you experience what they experienced. And so many, it's really impossible to speak about this piece because it's very magical and very personal, but so often we get insight inside, right? Inside without going outside. I begin to go inside, and what you're essentially doing now, does your grandmother as a ghost actually show up? No, but according to Ayurveda, yes, because we define ghosts as these unconscious operators that live in our being, that operate, right? And if I'm not aware of it, then it is in essence like a ghost. And so we invite this unconscious aspect of ourselves, these energies that are in the ethers and exist in our bodies. And the teachings say that these ancestors want our awareness. They want to be recognized. They want to be understood. And so as we begin to say to our mothers or our fathers or our grandmothers or grandfathers and on, aunts, uncles, as we begin to say to them the following very simple healing mantra, which is, wow, that must have been really hard for you. Wow, I really get that was hard, and that was where you were at the time, and that was the culture that you lived in, and that was the upbringing that you had from your family. And as we begin to say those words to our ancestors, we begin to heal, and they begin to feel seen and heard, and they begin to heal. And so we do this work forwards in time and backwards in time. So that was a big download. If this is something that you're interested in, I cannot recommend this book enough. Let me bring it out. 1 second, you guys. Dear listeners, It Didn't Start With You. The subtitle is How Inherited Family Trauma Shapes Who We Are and How to End the Cycle. It's by Mark Wolynn, and we'll put a link to that book in the show notes so you can buy it on the Amazon. But oh my God, you guys, this book, he's basically I believe he's a psychotherapist and a long-time meditator, spiritual practitioner, kind of like me, kind of like a lot of you out there, somebody that had done a lot of work on himself and really had a beautiful meditation and yoga practice. And he tells a story in the book that his one of his eyes was starting to fail him, and it would get full of like pus and leak, and he was losing his sight over time, and the doctors were telling him that they couldn't find a cause, but that eventually he could very likely go blind. And obviously this was very worrisome to him, and so he did everything that you would do to try to save the sight of your eye. Doctors, naturopaths, healers, and nothing was working. And this is a person, by the way, that had like a long meditation practice every day and considered himself, to his own admission, quite awake. And he went to his guru and said to this, wise teacher, what's going on with my eye? Help me understand the meaning of this. And the teacher said to him, you need to go home and speak to your mother and father. And this enraged him. How dare this guy tell me to go do that? Like, I have already done a ton of therapy on that. My parents are terrible, and I don't want to really have any relationship with them. That's not what this is about. And so he does not listen to that teacher, and he continues to meditate as if meditation can solve your problems, which is another topic we will do a podcast on, which is this complete fallacy that by separating yourself from your life and the world and isolating yourself in your breath, that you're going to solve your problems. But of course, like many of us do, and I've been guilty of, and certainly many people do this, right? We go back to the spiritual practices as a way of actually avoiding the really hard work of being with our families and with our husband and with our children and with our karma. So the dude goes off and ignores the advice. The eye gets worse. Long story short, he's about to go blind, and he meets this other yoga guru or meditation guru and goes to him and asks the same question. And the teacher says, you should leave the room right now and call your mother and father. Call your mother, was his answer. So finally, this man, wise now, a little older and desperate because he's going blind, he calls his mother and he arranges to go see her. And he arrives at the home where he has not been in so long, and he goes in the door and does the most incredibly challenging thing he's ever done, which is to let himself be hugged by her. And he says in the book that he's trembling as she wraps her arms around him, and he stays in that embrace even though it's so hard, and he shakes. And over time he begins to see that he has cut himself off from motherly love because he blames her for so many things from childhood, and many of them valid. But here she is now trying to love him, and he says that what the teacher said, as well as call your mother, was there is something that you are unwilling to see. And as soon as he began to really heal the relationship with the mother and stop blaming and judging and really just enter into an authentic, freaking painful, emotional relationship with her, his healing improved. His sight improved and is now today completely 100% restored, despite the doctor's, shock and awe. And so this is just a small story of the magical and really miraculous sometimes ways that we can shift patterns, not only in our thoughts and feelings, but also in our behaviors and even our physicality, our physical being, through Tarpana, which is a fancy Sanskrit way of saying healing our relationship to our roots, which is our ancestry. And so in India, we do this on the new moon in September, but we did it on the new moon in December. You can do it anytime you want, all throughout the year, but it's very powerful to do it on the new moon. And so if you're listening to this podcast and thinking, oh man, I really want to try this, try to do it on the new moon and let us know how it goes. We'd love to hear from you. I hope that you are inspired to think deeply and feel fully, and I hope that you have a beautiful, wonderful winter season. We'll be back next week with another podcast. Guys, we're coming up on 2019. We start Ayurveda school this coming January 18th. We've still got a spot for you if you want to join us. If you are interested in self-love, self-care, personal development, awakening, empowerment, all of these big things that we all want, love, right? More of what we want, less of what we don't, kind of thing. and you want a school that's rooted in an ancient lineage, join us next year for Shakti School Level 1 Ayurveda Tantra training with yours truly. I'm the founder and lead teacher, but we have an incredible, amazing roster of support teachers this year that are going to blow your mind. We're learning about yoni steaming, breast massage, herbology for spirituality, herbology for digestion and the mind. We are covering all the basics of Ayurveda, and we would love to have you and your presence and your energy in this incredible sisterhood that we've created over here. And so if you're interested in it, you can head over to theshaktischool.com. As always, we've got links for all of our programs and offerings in the show notes. And so we hope you check us out. We also have a monthly subscription program for anyone and everyone who just want to take a class with me every week. We have a movement practice, meditation, visualizations. I do talks, lectures, videos. You basically get a course with me every single month to your inbox. You can do it whenever you want. It exists there forever. And that's $18, which is like crazy cheap for a course with me. So check out the Lineage of Love. Again, we have links in the show notes. And if you love the Ghee Spot, recommend it to a friend and subscribe. You can subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, and it really helps other people find us. It helps if you leave a review. That also is really helpful. And then everyone can learn about Ayurveda and Tantra and yoga, which we think are really important things, especially given the crazy time that we live in. All right, beautiful. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Phote phul apon sukhe phote phul